I was up last night coming up with the notes for this video, and I think it's gonna be a ton of value because these are the things that I keep hearing over and over again every time I get on a consultation call, or every time one of my students is going through, the same obstacles that everybody has to go through. I hear the same problems over and over again. But this is specifically with like beginners or people who can't get consistent deals. It usually breaks down to these 5 things. 5 obstacles that you must overcome in order to get consistent wholesale deals, or just consistent money in general. If you want to pick a business model that you want to have a career in, you have to overcome these 5 things. They're gonna pop up, they're gonna come, there's no way around it, there's no 2 ways about it. You have to overcome these, and you have to get good at overcoming these. And when you overcome these 5 obstacles, life is just gonna seem to run smoothly for you. You're gonna have a clear understanding of business and entrepreneurship in general, and you're just gonna become a different person, really. So let's get into it. By the way, I'm smoking a really good cigar. This is a 15-year-old cigar. It's A Fuente, but it's Don Carlos. Really good cigar. And I got my coffee with me right here. Cheers to that. Nicotine and caffeine. Number 1, the first obstacle that you have to overcome, and you have to get good at it in order to get consistent wholesale deals, is the moral dilemma. Specifically, you guys might know this as lying to sellers, right? Lying and saying you're the buyer, or lying to the seller that you could get the job done when you don't really know if you could get the job done. That is one of the moral dilemmas in wholesale real estate that you have to get over, and you have to get good at it. There's no 2 ways around it. But every single business model has a dark side. Every single business model has a dark side, no matter where you go, whether you're working at McDonald's, whether you're working at retail, whether you're a waitress, whether you're a bartender, whether you're a bottle girl, or whether you're a mechanic. It doesn't matter. Whether you're in drop shipping, whether you're in social media agencies, doesn't matter. They all have a dark side to them. They all have a side of it that you keep on the low, right? A side of it that no one talks about, right? Every single business model has one. I don't give a fuck what it is. Whether you're selling door to door, whether you're selling solar, I don't give a fuck. There's some ugly side to every business. I didn't know that at first, but most beginners don't know that either, and sometimes they just straight up forget about it. Hold on, let me put my glasses on. I got these for a reason. Every single business model has an ugly side to it. The way that I get over it is you have to get better at explaining things. So specifically with the wholesale real estate moral dilemma, lying to sellers, lying that you could get a job done, promising that you won't back out, all these other things. The way that I was able to get over that, I just got better at explaining things. And I stopped being scared to tell them the truth. You just gotta not be scared to tell them the truth, right? And this is where the lying comes from. The lying comes from a scarcity mindset. The lying in wholesale real estate, saying that you're a buyer, lying in general to the seller and to the buyer, it all stems from a scarcity mindset. You believe that there's a lack of something that you don't have, and you just need to overcome that, and you need to change that with an abundant mindset. So when you talk to these sellers now, instead of lying because you're scared that you might lose a deal, you're being honest and upfront because you have an abundant mindset now. You know that you get deals no matter what, all the time, every time. I have so many leads, and I'm talking to so many sellers that I don't want to lead one of them off. I don't want to ruin my flow of good leads and positive leads by starting to lie to sellers. So yeah, how did I specifically get over lying to sellers? Well, for one, it's very important in my script, especially in my Zillow script, that you say the entire intro word for word. You get used to saying that entire intro word for word, because inside of that intro is all of the little micro nuances that I learned over the years put into one paragraph. So at the end of the intro for my script, you say, by the end of this phone call, I'm either gonna have an approval with an offer, or I'm gonna have a denial and a reason why. Is that fair? Is that cool? You could even go a step further. Sometimes I set even further expectations. I say, hey, is there anybody else that you would want to have on this phone call that's maybe involved in the decision making, or would have any sort of say so, or would be opposed to you selling? Something like that. Setting clear expectations in the beginning of the phone call, or just in general, helps you get over that moral dilemma of feeling like you have to lie, all right? And having that abundant mindset. So like, you don't have to lie to sellers. You don't need to lie to sellers. sellers, because even if you're doing this for free and you're just using Zillow, there is an unlimited amount of leads. I don't care what you say. I don't care what your friends say. I don't care what your guru says. I don't care what your mentor says. I know this for a fact because I've done it, and I've taught other people how to do it, and they continue to do it to this day, and so do I. So number one you have to overcome is that moral dilemma. Every business has some sort of moral dilemma that you have to get over. The biggest thing that I see beginners say is they feel like they're lying, or they feel like they're being a snake, or they feel like a sleazy salesperson. You know, they just feel like sleazy, like slimy. I get it. It is something. So here's another moral dilemma. Aside from lying, there's this moral dilemma of when you're building this connection with the seller and you're getting to know them, you're doing your fact find, you're getting to know more about them, more their situation, and you find out that they are a really, really motivated seller. They're about to go into foreclosure. Super, super motivated seller, but the numbers just don't work. The numbers just don't work. And so you're stuck in this spot of like, well, shit, this is a good lead, but this is not a deal. Like, nobody's gonna want this. What do I do? And so you start working and working and working and trying to get somebody to buy this deal, or you ask other people, or you start spinning your wheels to see like, can somebody help me figure out a way to help this person? Which is noble. It's a noble thing to do. And as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things that you should do. Like I said, this is one of the obstacles you have to overcome. But here's how I deal with that, right? When I come across a real person who's in a desperate situation, but the numbers just don't work, you just have to be straight up and blunt with them and tell them, as an expert, this is how much your house is worth, and this is how much somebody might be willing to pay for it. This is how I could help you achieve that. I'm not making any guaranteed promises, but Mr. Seller, if you give me the opportunity, I promise you I could at least give you world-class customer service. I make sure that I get the most eyeballs on it as possible in the shortest amount of time so that you could hit that goal within your time frame. You just get better at. So all I did was tell the truth. All I did just now was just tell the truth. And I said it way better than you lie, right? You're probably lying to the seller, be like, yeah, we could do it. We could do it $500,000 cash. We'll do it, close in 30 days. Like, what the fuck? No, you can't do that. Stop saying that. Stop lying. So the point is, in a nutshell, you have to get better at explaining things and having an abundant mindset so you're not scared to tell the truth anymore, and get comfortable telling the truth, right? Be detached from the outcome. Don't be afraid to hurt somebody's feelings. Like, it's a part of it comes with it. But you have to be so good at building a connection that even if you tell them the ugly truth, they're not gonna hang up on you. They're not gonna, tell you to F off. They're still gonna be willing to work with you because they like you and you made that connection with them. The next thing, number two, there's two main forms of resistance, right? So number two is resistance, and there's two forms of resistance. There's mental resistance and then there's physical resistance. Let's start off with mental resistance first. Mental resistance could look like, for example, you telling yourself, what's the point? Using logic against you, subconscious unbelief, AKA you don't have proof of concept. So let me dive in deep to each of these points of mental resistance. Because like I said, I've talked to hundreds of people. I talk to people every single day about these things, and they all say the same thing. So as far as what's the point, that ties into using logic against you. So I give you a roadmap, right? So let's use wholesale real estate on Zillow, for example. I give you a roadmap to make $20,000 in a single month, right? Within 90 days or less. Statistically, it's around day 60 to 70 that you make your first $20,000. Now, before day 60 and 70, yes, you're probably gonna close a deal or make some sort of money. But around day 60 to 70, let's just say like you don't make any money up until then, right? And you make $20,000. Well, on day 30 of putting in all the time and effort, your brain is gonna start to use logic against you, and it's gonna start reasoning why you should quit. That's just what it is. That's just what happens. It's called mental resistance. It's very natural. It's very normal. Your brain starts to look at the evidence from the past 30 days, right? And you don't have proof of concept anymore either, right? So as a beginner, you can't tell when you're making progress, right? 30 days of no money to you looks like no progress, but to me, I could see that, okay, you got better at overcoming the fear of giving a lowball offer within 30 days. That's the progress that you don't acknowledge. So your brain is gonna look at the past 30 days and see what is the evidence, and it's gonna tell you, fuck no, this doesn't work. Your brain is gonna look at the past 30 days, see that you didn't make any money, it's gonna be like, okay, well, this shit doesn't work. I gotta switch things. I gotta do this, and that's where shiny object syndrome comes in. Your brain just simply uses logic against you. I've told this story in a lot of my other YouTube videos about how I overcame a lot of other addictions and vices and things like that, but the one I always give is how I quit smoking cigarettes. I was smoking cigarettes for 11 years, and in the middle of the addiction, I tell this story, but but I just bought a brand new pack of cigarettes. You know, my friend's driving, we're in the car, and I'm just like, man, I know I can't keep smoking cigarettes. You know, like, I know I can't do this for the rest of my life. And so I'm like, well, throw them out, right? Obviously, well, throw them out then. If you don't want to smoke them, then throw them out. Well, logically, my brain, the addiction is speaking logically to me and saying, what's the point of throwing them out? You know you're gonna buy another pack anyways. What's the point of throwing the cigarettes away? You know you're gonna bum a cigarette off of somebody else, or you're just gonna buy another pack when you get enough money, things like that. So that's called logical mental resistance. Your brain using logic against you, right? And it's valid, it's true. Your brain will use real life-based evidence to come up with logical, rational conclusions and reasoning, because it was true. My brain was speaking the truth to me. What's the point of throwing these cigarettes out? You know you're gonna smoke again. And I knew that to be a fact. But I still threw the cigarettes out. I still threw the entire pack. It was Newports, I remember it. It was Newport 100s. I still threw the entire pack of cigarettes out. Why? It's because it was one step closer towards me not smoking cigarettes anymore. Even if it seemed impossible in the moment, me throwing those cigarettes out, even if I was gonna smoke again, it's just taking a step in the direction of being the person that I wanna be. That's it, that's all it is. Don't over fucking think it. It's better to do it than to not do it. What are you gonna keep taking steps backwards? No, take a step forward every now and then. Even if it doesn't make sense, even if you know you're gonna take a step backwards, like go for it anyways. So that's the mental resistance, your brain using logic against you, right? When you're about to call a seller and you're just like, man, I know they're asking way too much. What's the point of even calling them? That's called mental resistance, logic, okay? Stop being a bitch, pick up the phone and call them. But yeah. That's mental resistance, using logic against you, saying, what's the point? They're already asking too much. I know they're gonna say no. They already said no to this other offer. Why would I give them my offer? That's mental resistance. You gotta get over it. Okay, so the other one, physical resistance. Physical resistance is the urgencies of life. A lot of you guys are not gonna like to hear this, but this is real. I've coached hundreds of students, okay? I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing exactly this, doing exactly what I tell you guys to do. And this is something that I had to learn to overcome in the beginning, and this is something that every other beginner has to learn to overcome. The urgencies of life, AKA, I just broke my leg, my dog just died, my mom died, my mom's sick, my mom's in the hospital, my girlfriend's calling me, my girlfriend doesn't want me to go out, my friends want me to go out, my friends say I'm acting different, or you got a job interview, or you're gonna be late for work. All of these are real life scenarios, and that's why they're called the urgencies of life. Like, I'm not saying that they're not valid. You might have to work 40 hours a week for your other job so you feel like you don't have time to wholesale real estate. That might be completely true. I'm not saying it's not true, but this is called physical resistance. You gotta overcome it. There's no way around it. Physical fucking resistance. Rent's gonna be due no matter what. The baby's gonna come no matter what. Your son's gonna get kicked out. Whatever the case is, guys, life happens. I understand it. So when you come into my coaching program and I tell you what to do, and then you tell me your reason why you're not doing it, and I tell you, okay, that's fine. I'm just letting you know now that if you don't do it, you're not gonna reach this particular goal within this time frame based off of this data, these statistics. It's like, it's never my opinion. It's never my opinion. Like, I have a scientific proven roadmap, step by step, day 1 to day 90, how to make $20,000 with no marketing dollars. It's fact, it's scientific. It's not a theory, right? It's just what it is. And if you do this every single day, you make that amount. Now, is it still possible to hit that goal without doing it? Absolutely, 100%, right? But I just know the scientific guaranteed roadmap, right? Anything could happen in the middle. Also in here I wrote, toxic environments, bad friends, bad relationships, what we feed our mind with, AKA music, movies, porn, podcasts, whatever, books, whatever we feed our mind with, that's gonna fuel, our reality and our perception on life. And I guess that could go into mental resistance, but physical resistance, also speech impediments and learning disabilities. Guys, I'm not saying you don't have ADHD. I'm not saying you don't have a learning disability. I'm not saying you don't have a speech impediment. I'm not saying it's harder for you to learn than somebody else. I'm not saying that's not true, but what I am saying is that nobody gives a fuck and life doesn't give a fuck. I'm not saying that I don't give a fuck. I do give a fuck, and I give a fuck enough to tell you the ugly truth that nobody gives a fuck, okay? David Goggins had a stuttering problem, a speech impediment, and he had a learning disability, and look at where the fuck he's at. There's this motivational speaker who doesn't have any arms and legs, and he's a millionaire. What's the point? Life is life. You can't change the cards that you were dealt. At some point, you gotta stop fucking bitching about them, and you gotta stop complaining about them. Sometimes physical and mental resistance are just linked together. You have mental and physical coming against you. The kids gotta get fed, the kids gotta get picked up from school, your boss wants this from you, and you feel like, what's the point? Welcome to entrepreneurship. If you can't handle that, don't start. But when you're fucking halfway there, don't quit now. You shouldn't have started. This is what I mean, like, now that I'm on the other side of this, there's a new lens to life. I made a video before, it's on my YouTube, it's called How to Change Your Life, or The Journey to Change Your Life. Go watch that video, I'll leave the link to it somewhere here. But when you're on the side of life that you don't want to be, everything's going against you, and it's an uphill battle. But once you cross that turning point, bro, once you get on the other side of life, everything works out for you. You're always positive for no fucking reason. And I'm not saying there's no bad days or rainy days, but even the bad days you appreciate. It's grateful because it's a part of the journey. It's a part of this bigger picture of life. So in the beginning, the second thing, number 2, that you have to get over is resistance. And the 2 main forms of resistance are mental resistance and physical resistance. Let's go on to number 3, shiny object syndrome. I wrote down a few examples, right? Remember, this is something that you have to get over. You have to get over shiny object syndrome. I wrote down friends doing other things that seem successful, that you see they're having success in. Just because you started wholesale real estate 6 months and you've been half-assing it, and you see that it's hard and you haven't gotten any results, but you see your friend Johnny over here, he's been trading for 2 weeks and he just made $10,000. Well, it seems like you should go do that, right? That's called shiny object syndrome. That shit is real. And no, you should not go do what Johnny does. 9 times out of 10, Johnny's gonna have to go through the same bullshit that you have to go through. The only difference is you're going through it now. So you're getting a head start. Point blank, period. That's just what it is. These are entrepreneurship obstacles, right? I'm relating them to wholesale real estate, but shiny object syndrome is real. It's logical mental resistance. This guy said I would get a deal in 90 days or less and I didn't get it. Well, did you do what I told you to do? Did you follow the roadmap? Did you do the daily action steps? No. Okay then don't expect the results. But worrying about other people. But Johnny made $2,000. Well, you're not Johnny, are you? God has a plan for you and your life. And you're supposed to go through your obstacles because you're you. He's him. She's her. Johnny's Johnny, right? Your friend is your friend, but you are you, and you have your own story to tell. Stop thinking life is unfair. Like, the biggest mindset shift that I've had that literally changed my life, one of the biggest mind frames and mind shifts I've had to help me be on this other side of life. Like, look at me. I'm literally where I've dreamed I wanted to be 3 years ago. I understand why people talk about mindset now, but the biggest mindset shift I had was everything is happening for me, not to me. I said that to myself when I was in jail. I said, from now on, I'm changed. It was hard, it's not easy, but you practice it. You stop saying, man, why did this happen to me? Or why are they doing this to me? Or they're doing this to me. And you start saying, what can I learn from this? What is God trying to show me in this moment right now? What is God trying to teach me? What is life trying to teach me right now? Bro, when you simply have that mindset shift, you're a fucking animal. And that's why you get to have what most people don't have, because you think different than how most people think. Everything in life is happening for me, not to me. So every obstacle, good or bad, it's happening for you, not to you. So yeah, that's number 3, shiny object syndrome. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Do your own thing. Just because it's not working for you now doesn't mean that it'll never work out. Okay? So shiny object syndrome, get over it. Pick one thing, stick to it. Number 4, and this is one of the biggest things. If you could master this, and it's not forever. It's just for when you're trying to level up. All right, so number 4, saying no to every single thing except your one goal every single day until the goal is achieved. This is so important. No, I'm not interrupting. I'm actually in the middle of editing the video and I just realized that the camera stopped recording. Either it was because it went to 30 minutes and it can't record past that, or it died, I don't know, but I'm gonna pick up where I left off because where I left off is very, very important, okay? So number 4, saying no to everything except your one goal every single day until that goal is achieved. So like I said, it doesn't last forever, but you just have to get good at saying no until the goal is achieved. Here's a list of things that you have to say no to when you're in that season of isolation or trying to get your first wholesale deal or trying to start up a business, whatever. It's going to require you to say no to friends, weekends, alcohol, parents, kids, doctor's appointments, high school reunions, concerts, family trips, Christmas, birthday parties, New Year's, all federal holidays, a car, other business models, other business opportunities, other business ideas, being understood by most people, being accepted by most people, waking up at the same time that everyone else wakes up, endlessly scrolling on Instagram, texting back that guy or girl who you know isn't good for you, or texting back that guy or girl in general, period, watching that one interesting YouTube video that you never got to finish, etc., etc. And the quote that I wrote down there, because that's a lot that I just said, and the quote goes, "It hurts more than most people are willing to bear or even admit. That's why most people are average and just getting by." So there's a lot that I said in that list that would trigger a lot of people and maybe turn a lot of people off. And maybe they say, oh, this guy doesn't know, he's doing too much, he's too extreme. Well, that's the point. And until you're able to be extreme with something, you're never gonna have success in it. Point blank, period. Now, there's also the paradox of relativity, right? What I consider extreme, another person might consider super normal, right? So another example, when I was starting out, I would die, to be the person, to just be the person that I am today, right? I would fight and strive and wake up early and do all these things just to be where I'm at today. And now I'm at where I'm at today, and I could get 100x the results with just a fraction of the effort, right? And that's because during my season of growth and monk mode, I was able to say no to everything else except building the one thing that was most important to me, which was sales. It was sales. It was honestly never even really about just getting money. I've said this in other videos. The goal wasn't just money. Like, obviously I wanted money, but the real goal, money was a side effect of my true goal. You understand? So if you chase money, then when you get the money, let's say you achieve it, you're going to be complacent at that point, or you're going to be comfortable, or you're going to lose it all. Or maybe you don't do what it takes to be able to sustain that amount of money. They have plenty of stories of people who make a ton of money and they lose it all. Or they won the lottery and a year later or 5 years later, they end up back where they started. It's because you have to go through this season of growth. It is required. There's no two ways around it. Remember how I said in the beginning of the video, these are 5 obstacles that every beginner entrepreneur and specifically every beginner wholesaler has to go through no matter what, okay? And the good news is that it's just for a season. It doesn't last forever. I mean, look at me now, okay? I live in luxury. I go on dates whenever I want. I have friends, I can party if I want to. I could buy the bottles and stuff now. I don't do it that much, but when I do it, I do it big, right? And it's because 80% of the time, I'm doing what matters most to me and I'm building myself, right? And eventually, I'm not gonna lie, eventually it gets to a point to where you can retire. Like, you can make a certain amount of money to where you never have to work again another day in your life, or your kids. But the type of person that you have to become in order for that to even be a possibility is gonna be the type of person who doesn't wanna retire. You don't wanna stop because you love it. You love what you do, right? And so that's just a season that you have to go through. Number 5, saying yes to the one thing that matters most, okay? You know how I said you have to say no to all those other things, right? Friends, family, funerals, alcohol, every weekend, every federal holiday, all that. You know how you have to say no to all of those other things? Well, you just have to say yes to doing one thing, and that's hitting the KPIs every single day. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to say no to everything else. All you have to do is make sure that you say yes to that one thing, which is hitting the KPIs every single day. What are KPIs? Key performance indicators. They are keys or metrics that indicate your performance. KPIs, key performance indicators. They are metrics that indicate your performance. So with KPIs, you can predict how much money you're going to make. You can predict if your business is failing and about to die, or you can see, okay, we're in a bull market right now. Like, everything is awesome. We're on top of the world right now, right? If you don't have numbers, you don't have a business, point blank, period. So if you want to run a business, you have to say yes to the one thing that keeps a business afloat, and that's KPIs, okay? And if you don't know what your KPIs KPIs are for your specific business model, then go research it. But this is for wholesale real estate. And I could promise you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, listen to me, look at me in the eyes. If you're looking at me through the screen, the only KPIs you need to do is 3 30-minute offer calls and 20 conversations. Now, I clearly define and go in depth into each of those definitions of those KPIs in my other videos. I think it's called How to Get Consistent Wholesale Deals, or How to Close Wholesale Deals Consistently Every Single Month. I'll leave a link to it somewhere here or in the description below. But all you have to do is say yes. That's number 5. Just say yes to that one thing. And it'll be easier to say yes to that one thing if you just automatically say no to everything else. It's simple. It's not easy at all. So under here, I just wrote a few side notes. Say no to everything else except this. If you do that, it's virtually impossible to lose. And number 3, I said it's boring, irritating, inspiring, funny, terrifying, mundane, and exciting. You just have to tap into that world through deep work and flow state. I have a few books about that I want to refer you guys to. If you're looking for some books to read, okay, let's see. These are the 3 books that touch on that topic of deep work and flow state. Instead of diving deep and explaining, I'm just going to refer you to these books. Okay, so first we have Deep Work by Cal Newport. This book talks about flow state and deep work, or he calls it deep work, getting meaningful work done as efficiently as possible. And he talks about different strategies and techniques on how to stay focused and how to prime yourself to be in that flow state. So I highly recommend this book. It's called Deep Work by Cal Newport. He also has a YouTube channel. I highly recommend his YouTube channel. It's all about productivity and being productive, really. So Cal Newport, Deep Work. The next one I have is The One Thing by Gary Keller. Basically, he just goes in depth and talks about how you should only say yes to one thing. And he talks about certain tips, tricks, hacks, productivity hacks to help you focus on one thing, right? Every single day, and how to focus on getting better at that one thing every single day. So it's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And the last one on productivity, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is one of the first books that I've read when I first got out of jail, and this has been the biggest book that helped me change my life. It talks about changing your habits and how if you change your habits, you will change your identity, but you need to change your identity first, and your habits will slowly start to follow. Believe that you already are the person that you want to be, and you'll start acting like that person. So this is really, really big and helped me change my life. Okay, and a few honorable mentions as far as sales and wholesale real estate. If you're looking for books specifically on sales and how to get better at negotiating, just getting better at sales in general and persuading people, these 2 books are really the best 2 books that I've ever read on sales, period. They got The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Every single thing that you know about sales in the modern world today, he coined it. Don't care what anybody says. Somebody can prove me wrong. There's probably a bootleg out there, but he's the one who made it popular. The straight line sales process or sales system, whatever you want to call it. Every modern day sales process is based off of this, what he claims to invent in the 80s, I believe it was. I had a bias against this book because I thought it was going to be about a bunch of degenerate bullcrap, but when I read it, it just blew me away. This is strictly about sales, and it is literally hands down one of the best sales books I've ever read in my entire life. So, The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort, and the next one is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's solely about negotiating, getting what you want out of life, whether that's a promotion at a job or a relationship from a certain girl or trying to get your kids to sleep on time or whatever it is. This book is all about negotiating and how to get the other person to see from your point of view and obviously give you what you want. So honorable mention right there. If you guys got any value out of this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe because I'm dropping weekly videos about wholesale real estate, self-improvement, and just life in general. If you want to become a student and you want to work with me one-on-one to help you get your first wholesale deal in 90 days or less using a specific roadmap on what to do every single day and hold you accountable to it, then just click the link below to book a call with me. It's going to be a one-on-one call. I'm going to see if you're a good fit. Now, if you know that you don't have any money for mentorship, you know you don't have any money for courses, and you know you don't have any money for anything, there's going to be a free course in the description as well. The first link down there is going to be a free course. It's literally a roadmap. You just need to implement the steps and action steps in the course. That's it. If you could do that, I promise you can make it work, okay? If nobody told you, I'm telling you, I believe in you guys. Stay motivated.